In the year 793 AD on the island of Lindisfarne, which is located in what is now Northumberland in the northeast of England, a Viking longboat comes to a halt on the beach near a small, unassuming monastery. Two religions are about to meet, violently. The raid on Lindisfarne marked the start of a series of Viking incursions and invasions into the British Isles, which lasted for several centuries and is considered the beginning of the Viking Age in England. It's remarkable to think on this seemingly tiny event, what the Viking raiders may have considered easy pickings would gradually come to completely assimilate their customs, beliefs, and entire culture into the fold of Christendom. The blending of Norse religious customs with Christianity was a fascinating process, backed by archaeological findings, which reveal how Norse deities became intertwined with Christian practices and how Norse holy sites would be repurposed to Christian sites of worship. Before we start, it's essential to emphasize that this exploration does not aim to cast judgment on any particular religious belief. Whether we're talking about the Norse pantheon, ancient pagan traditions, or the Christian faith, the intention is not to assert the moral superiority of one over another. Instead, our journey is a quest for understanding. We'll neither persuade nor dissuade anyone from believing in a divine presence. Instead, we will unravel the intricate threads of history, drawing from references, historical accounts, eyewitness testimonies, and compelling evidence. Our aim is to present the narrative of our ancestors and how it has shaped the world we inhabit today. In this, you, the viewer, are encouraged to form your own conclusions, to engage in thoughtful reflection, and to freely agree or disagree with the insights shared. With that out of the way, let's begin. The Viking Age, spanning the 9th to 11th centuries, witnessed a clash of cultures as Norsemen encountered Christianity. Initially marked by violence, these interactions evolved over time. Viking leaders, such as jarls, played a pivotal role in deciding the religious path for their clans. Some jarls embraced Christianity, enticed by the prospects of peaceful interaction, trade, diplomacy, and alliances with Christian communities. In return, they were offered incentives like wealth, lands, titles, and trade networks. Others vehemently resisted Christianity, viewing it as a threat to their traditions and power. This dynamic interplay between Vikings and Christianity left a lasting impact on Viking culture and the religious landscape of the era, shaping the complex relationship between the two worlds. Danish chiefs and kings, expanding their reach into regions like Normandy, England, Ireland, France, and Germany, found themselves facing difficult choices regarding conversion. Conversion, for some, was driven not only by spiritual revelations, but also by political pragmatism. Viking rulers recognized the advantages of forming alliances with neighboring Christian powers, especially against rival clans. By adopting Christianity, they could solidify political partnerships and bolster their positions and overall power base on the geopolitical stage. Historical accounts and eyewitness testimonies illustrate that these conversions weren't merely religious in nature, but integral parts of a broader political strategy. The line between politics and faith blurred as marriages were arranged, promises made, and battles fought. Understanding this aspect of Viking history provides us with a richer perspective on the motivations that guided their actions. The most devout weapon in Christianity's arsenal at the time was the missionary, a pious priest intent on spreading the word of God to the pagans. A common tactic was to destroy or remove idols of false gods and show that Jesus was stronger. However, this presented a problem for the missionaries, as the Norse didn't possess such religious iconography, nor did they worship in the same manner as the Christians. Viking gods were considered flesh and blood and walked among them in disguise, of course. So, instead of destroying pagan idols, missionaries strategically built chapels near sacred sites on hilltops, around important gathering sites and ritual locations. Then, slowly integrated Christian practices into local traditions. This approach allowed for a coexistence and a gradual assimilation of the perceived heathens. Building churches was not enough on its own to convince most Vikings, and so the missionaries would look for extraordinary events, which could be ordained as miracles, often including acts of power and divine intervention. Some common types of miracles included healing the sick, restoring sight to the blind, casting out evil spirits, and producing bountiful harvests during times of scarcity. These miracles were seen as evidence of the Christian God's benevolence and supremacy over the pagan deities. There were also accounts of miraculous events such as divine apparitions, where saints or religious figures would reportedly appear to individuals, conveying messages or guidance. These divine encounters were particularly effective against Norsemen, as they interpreted this as the Christian saints and divine figures living amongst them, which was already ingrained in their beliefs, thus bolstering the credibility of Christianity in the eyes of the pagan population. Miracles performed in the presence of Viking kings and chiefs were the most impactful, involving powerful and influential individuals, which made a compelling case for the Christian faith. The nature of these miracles played a crucial role in convincing Viking leadership to consider conversion, leading to the broader Christianization of the Danish people. Even after their conversion, the Danes didn't abandon their pagan traditions, but instead fused them with their new faith. They continued to make offerings to local spirits and sanctified sacred springs in the name of Christian saints, demonstrating their ability to merge their old traditions with the new religious practices. This unique blend extended to the construction of churches near pagan sacred sites, allowing Danes to maintain their spiritual connections while embracing Christianity. Perhaps the most notable example was the absorption of the symbol of Thor's hammer with the Christian cross. Ironically, the wearing of a Thor's hammer pendant was seen as a silent protest against the introduction of Christianity, and due to the similarity between a Mjolnir pendant and a crucifix, those who clung to the old ways could wear the pendant with a low risk of being prosecuted or penalized by the church. In the 10th century, King Haakon the Good initiated the earliest recorded efforts to introduce Christianity to Norway. His upbringing in England had exposed him to the Christian faith, but his attempts to spread it within Norway were met with resistance and limited success. Following Haakon's reign, King Harald Greyhide, despite being a Christian, did not actively promote the faith. The turning point came with the ascent of King Olaf Tryggvason in 995. After a reported encounter with a Christian seer, he underwent a dramatic conversion and committed to propagating Christianity throughout the land. To achieve this goal, King Olaf took drastic measures, including the destruction of pagan temples and the use of force against resistors. Through these very aggressive Viking methods, he succeeded in making Christianity at least nominally accepted in every part of Norway. King Olaf's ambitions did not stop at Norway's borders. His reign extended the reach of Christianity to Norse settlements in the western regions. Historical accounts in the king's sagas attribute him with Christianizing not only Norway but also the Faroes, Orkney, Shetland, Iceland, and Greenland. However, the Christianization process in Norway faced a setback after King Olaf's defeat at the Battle of Svolder in the year 1000. During the subsequent rule of the Jarls of Lade, there was a partial return to the old ways. Yet, the full restoration of Christianity came under the reign of Saint Olaf, who is credited with decisively eradicating any remaining pagan practices and firmly establishing Christianity as the dominant religion in Norway. How did the Norse reconcile their gods, and how did they become absorbed into Christianity? Our understanding comes from archaeological findings, such as sculptures and artwork, which depict the hybridization of deities. Take, for instance, Thor, the mighty Norse god of thunder, converted into a prominent Christian saint named Olaf. Sharing in the same features and appearance, along with representing strength and courage as a protector, these two figures easily found common ground. It wasn't just a matter of shared attributes, however, but rather a calculated strategy by the church to facilitate the conversion of pagan worshippers. Thor's imagery was ingeniously woven into Christian narratives, symbolizing the delicate balance between preserving cultural identity and embracing a new faith. Another Norse deity assimilated was Freya, and her fusion with the Virgin Mary. The Norse goddess's association with love and fertility seamlessly blended with the Christian narrative of the Virgin Mary, making this new faith more relatable and understandable for the local population. These tactics not only eased the conversion process, but also fostered a more welcoming atmosphere for the acceptance of Christianity among the Viking people. Rituals and festivals held an important role in Viking society, and these celebrations were also seen as a way to assimilate the Northmen. Yule, a cherished festival, marked the winter solstice. It symbolized rebirth and renewal as the Norse celebrated the gradual return of longer days and the promise of a new agricultural season. The lighting of the Yule log, a tradition rooted in Norse mythology, represented the rebirth of the sun, bringing light back to the world and uniting families around the hearth. The Yule feast, abundant with seasonal harvest, brought people together for indulgence and merriment, fortifying them through the harsh winter months. One of Yule's enduring legacies is the practice of gift-giving, symbolizing goodwill and community building among Norse pagans during the festival. However, as Christianity spread across Norse regions, Yule was merged into Christmas. The Yule log became the Yule log cake, and gift-giving evolved into a central aspect of Christmas. So when you next hand out gifts from under the Christmas tree, give thanks to the ancient Vikings for your presents. Or perhaps Santa Claus? The modern Santa Claus is primarily based on the Dutch figure of Sinterklaas, who was brought to the United States by Dutch settlers in the 17th century. Over time, Sinterklaas evolved into the character we now know as Santa Claus. The modern image of Santa is often associated with the legend of Saint Nicholas, a Christian bishop known for his generosity. Elements of his character and his association with winter and gift-giving may have been influenced by Norse mythology and the god Odin. Often depicted as an older man with a long white beard, there are some indirect connections and influences from Norse mythology and other cultural sources in the development of this character. It is possible that elements of Odin's mythology may have merged with the story of Saint Nicholas to create the modern Santa Claus, though it's important to know that this is speculative. Another holiday celebrated around the world is Easter, containing a blend of ancient traditions, historical transformations, and symbolic meanings. Its timing, for instance, has a remarkable connection to the arrival of spring and the rebirth of nature, but its origins date back to an even earlier era, with the Viking celebration of the fertility goddess Eostre. Eostre was revered by the Vikings during their springtime festivities. These celebrations marked the end of the harsh winter and the emergence of new life. Eostre's association with fertility was symbolized by various aspects of nature, such as blooming flowers, chirping birds, and notably eggs. Eggs, with their inherent symbolism of new life, were an integral part of the springtime rituals dedicated to Eostre. As Christianity began to spread across Europe, it gradually assimilated various pagan traditions and adapted them to fit within the framework of Christian beliefs. Easter, the Christian celebration of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, found itself merging with the pre-existing springtime festivities. The timing of Easter was strategically aligned with the arrival of spring, and the name Easter itself is believed to have been derived from Eostre, the Viking goddess herself. This fusion allowed for a smoother transition from pagan traditions to Christian celebrations. Eggs also found their way into the Christian Easter narrative. They came to represent not only new life, but also the resurrection of Jesus. In various historical accounts, we find references to early Christians using eggs to symbolize the empty tomb of Jesus after his resurrection. This practice eventually evolved into the beautifully decorated Easter eggs we see today, a tradition deeply rooted in Norse mythology. Finally, let's take a brief look at how Norse gods influence the days of the week. Whilst not connected to Christianity directly, the naming of the days of the week is a result of the amalgamation of various cultural influences over time. The Roman calendar played a significant role in shaping these names, but the Germanic and Norse cultures added their own unique contributions, which ultimately led to the names we use today. Tuesday. Tuesday, which we often associate with a day of work and productivity, owes its name to the Norse god Tyr. In Old English, it was known as Tiwesdag, and it's derived from the Old Norse Tisdagur. Tyr is a significant figure in Norse mythology, revered as the god of law and justice. He played a pivotal role in maintaining order among the Aesir. This connection between Tuesday and Tyr reflects the enduring influence of Norse culture, with an emphasis on justice. Wednesday. As we move on to Wednesday, it is named after the Norse god Odin, known as Woden in Old English. This day was referred to as Wadnesdag, originating from the Old Norse Odinstagur. Odin holds a prominent position in the pantheon as the chief of the Aesir. He embodies wisdom, poetry, and war. Odin's association with Wednesday symbolizes not only knowledge and creativity, but also courage and strength. Thursday. Thursday takes its name from the Norse god Thor. In Old English, it was Thunresdag, tracing its roots back to the Old Norse Thorsdagur. Thor, with his mighty hammer, Mjolnir, is the god of thunder. He's renowned for his epic battles against powerful foes and his unwavering dedication to protecting both gods and humans. When we say Thursday, we pay homage to the heroic qualities of Thor, emphasizing the importance of strength and resilience in our lives. Friday. Friday is named in honor of the Norse goddess Frigg. In Old English, it was known as Friggadik, closely related to the Old Norse Friggardar, Frigg the queen of the Aesir, associated with love, marriage, and motherhood. Her influence on Friday adds a touch of warmth and comfort to the end of the work week. It's a day when many people look forward to spending quality time with their loved ones, aligning perfectly with the themes of love and family that Frigg embodies. These origins of the days of the week, rooted in Norse mythology, give us a deeper appreciation of how our modern calendar is influenced by ancient beliefs and traditions. They serve as a reminder of the enduring legacy of these myths and how they continue to influence us, even without our knowledge. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the merging of Norse customs and beliefs with Christianity. Remember, our aim is not to challenge personal beliefs, but to provide a nuanced understanding. Through historical accounts, archaeological findings, and tangible evidence, we've witnessed the coexistence of pagan and Christian traditions and the enduring influence of Norse mythology on our culture today. We hope this has motivated you to further explore this rich tapestry and hope to see you in the next one.